Welcome back to this video. This video will see PAT, aka Port Address Translation. The last video we saw Dynamic Network Address Translation. So how is this PAT different from Dynamic NAT? So we first saw Static NAT, right? Static NAT, it's not widely used at all because one is not saving the IP address because we have to get each IP address for each device. Let's say we have 200 devices, so initially we need to buy 200 different IP addresses. Not only that, we need to configure them one by one on each devices. So it's time consuming plus not saving the IP addresses. Then comes dynamic NAT, right? In dynamic NAT, we can omit the configuration part because we don't need to go there and configure each device one by one, because we can purchase a range of IP addresses and then we can configure them using pool. The router will then assign the IP addresses to however many devices we have. So let's say again we have 200 devices, so all those 200 devices will get the IP addresses from the router. That is the public IP addresses, what's going out, correct? Because we have given the range, we have configured them using pool, then the router will assign the IP addresses. So that time consuming matter is no longer there. That can be completely avoided, but saving IP addresses part is still exist because we still need to purchase 200 different IP addresses, correct? Therefore we are not saving IP addresses again in dynamic NAT either. Then comes this PAT, port address translation. In this port address translation, we can not only avoid configuring each device one by one, we can also save IP addresses by just purchasing one IP address. So again, just use the example of 200 devices. All those 200 devices will use one IP address. So in the public network, they will all use just one IP address. So the company would need to buy only one IP address. So in this example, we are going to use 50.1.1.1. That is our purchased IP address here, right? So all these devices, in this case 4 devices, right? 4 different end users, they will all use this 5111. So that's how the difference from dynamic NAT with this PAT, port address translation. Now come to the configuration part. It is almost the same configuration as dynamic NAT. In fact, there is actually only one very important keyword we need to give here. That is the only difference from dynamic NAT. So if you have practiced dynamic NAT very well, this should be very easy because there is only one keyword we need to give here. So as you know, dynamic NAT, we need to configure default route here on our router, right? Default route. So let me just show you. Show run. So I have already configured that. Here is the default route. So you will need to, if you're going to do this lab, you will need to configure this default route on our router, right? And the next stop is 100.1.1.2. I mean, if you're using the same lab and the same IP addresses. Then this ISP here would need the static route back to our router. So it means IP route 5110, that is the IP address network ID we have purchased. So 5111 is the one we purchased. So 5110 would be the network ID, subnet mask, and the next hop IP address is 100.1150. This serial 010 here. Okay. So those two things you need to configure. Then we can start configuring this PAT. Again, we need to specify private network using access list. Private network again is nothing but our LAN here, which is 192.168.1.0. Okay, that we need to specify using access list. Number 2, specify public network using port. So what we are using, only one IP address here, but we still need to configure this using port, and we'll see that how to do that. Then the third step would be to map both access list and pool. So after we specify both private and public network, we need to map access list and pool. We'll see how to do that. And then IP NAT in out. So we'll need to specify our interfaces, which one is inside our network, which one is outside. So this default gateway G000 is our inside network, and S010 would be the outside, that going to the WAN. Okay. After that, we'll start pinging all these devices, and what's going to happen is, once we check the translations, you will see that all 4 devices using the same 5111 public address. Okay, so this is what is port address translation. Now let's start configuring. First of all, we'll specify the private network using access list. So again, enable configure terminal. Okay, access list. We can use 1 to 99 standard, so let's use 1. Okay, access list 1, and then we are permitting all devices, correct? We are not denying any devices, so we need to say permit, right? Permit, and our network ID is 192.168.1.0, and then it's going to ask for the wildcard bits, so which is 0.0.0.255, opposite of subnet mask. Okay, and if I put a question mark, it's done. CR means there is nothing we need to configure after this, so we can simply press enter. So what we did, we specify the private network using access list. That's the first step. Now coming to the second step, specify public network using port. So how to do that? IP, the command is IP NAT pool, and then if I put a question mark, it needs the starting or the pool name. Pool name we can give us CISCO, right? And then it's going to ask the start IP address, which is 5111. That is our purchased IP address, 5111. Then if I put a question mark, it's asking for end IP address, but in this case it's going to be the same because it's only one IP address, so therefore the end IP address is also 5111. And if I put a question mark, it needs the net mask, so it's 255.255.255.0, but we need to say net mask here, net mask. Okay, and then 255.255.255.0, and if I put a question mark, and you can see CR, that means nothing more, we can just hit enter. So what we did, we specify the public network using pool. Now the third step, we need to map access list and pool. Okay, we have specified the private network, we have specified the public network. Now we need to map both access list pool. How to do that? IP nat inside source, and then if I put a question mark, it's the access list, right? Not static. So we need to say list, and whatever the access list number we have given, we need to provide it here. I used 1, so 1, and then pool. Okay, pool. What's the pool name we have given? Cisco, all in capital letters. Okay, and here is the very important step or the keyword we need to provide. If we don't provide this here, it is going to not only work because the range we have given is 5111 starting and the ending is also 5111, which means one of this, if we don't provide this keyword here, only one of these devices would get the public IP 5111, and that is whoever is going to ping first, whoever will request the IP address first will get that 5111. The others will not be able to get it. So which means we need to provide this keyword in order for all these devices to go outside, right? Using this one IP, and that keyword is nothing but very important keyword. So it is overload. Okay, you must give this in order to make this path works. Okay, otherwise it will not work. Now if I put a question mark, nothing else, enter. So we have completed the first 3 steps: specify private, specify public, and we have mapped this access list and pool. Now IPNAT in and out, so we need to go to the interface and we need to specify which one is going to be inside network, which one is going to be outside. So we need to first go to the interface, right? So interface, we'll do the default gateway interface G000. We simply say IPNAT inside, and we'll go to the S010 interface, this WAN interface S010, and that's going to be outside. So IPNAT outside. Okay, now we have completed all the steps for this PAT configuration. Now we'll start pinging and we'll check the translations after that. So first we'll start with 1.1. It doesn't matter which order you ping, you can start with 1.4 if you want to, doesn't matter. So command prompt ping. What we pinging? We'll ping this Google server here 200.111, and we'll go to this. In the meantime, ping 200.111. Okay, we'll go to this, ping 200.111, and we'll go to the 1.4, ping 200.111. Okay, this one is done. We got the reply here, so all of them is working fine. So what we'll do, we'll go to this router, we'll check the translation. To check the translation, the command is do show, and I'm putting do show because I am in the configuration mode. Okay, so you need to provide this do in front. Do show IPNAT translation. Here you can see that we started with 1.1, and 1.1 got 5111. Alright, 1.1 got 5111. Then 1.2 got 5111. 1.3 got 5111, which means they're all using the same 5111 IP addresses on the public side. Okay, and then 1.4 also 5111. All of the destination address is the same 200.111, right? So this is how you would do PAT port address translation. Now you can see we are not only saving time on configuration, we are also saving IP address because we are only purchasing one IP and all of the devices can use that same IP. Now in the next video we'll see some other concept. We can further do more port address translation which can be slightly better than this method. So we'll see that in the next video. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next video. Thank you and good day.